Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? We are live in La Oficina. We're doing incredible things. We're breaking ground, having amazing success with the tools here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is an honor to be here. What's up, Anna? Good to see you. Leroy, welcome. Lilburn. What's up, Lilburn? Rich, as always. Not worthy. Not worthy, but we are in the presence of greatness. Incredible traders here today, customers new and old alike. Let's put on the glasses that make me at least 20 IQ points smarter. Hey guys, how are you? What an exciting time to be alive and the opportunities that day trading affords you. The volatility has never been higher. We're just a few days away from the inauguration. However you feel about it, I was taught to think we can be we could be enemies for a few weeks before the election, and then once everybody picks, this is the guy, fall in line. We're all Americans again. So I'm going to take that attitude this year, and I'm excited to see where things go. But change usually means volatility. Until there's stability, markets will always reflect that uncertainty until we have a better sense of what's going to happen. And so volatility for us is wonderful because of our premise that basically comes down to the following. We are tremendously invested in the idea that nothing really happens completely randomly. There's an element, there's an ingredient of timing in markets that has gone unnoticed, unpreached for millennia. Since in the early 1900s forwards, only a few people have attempted to bring the cycles of time to the future. Men like W.D. Gann, Wells Wilder with the market delta phenomenon, gentlemen like Euler, for example, all trying to kind of dig in a little bit and parse out how time affects markets. And so, as far as I know, if you have a suspicion that time is really important and that banks are rigging these futures markets, equities, cryptocurrencies against you, if you've had this sensation that someone's kind of looking over your shoulder going, get in now, get in now, get in now, and then it hits your stop and then immediately goes to the target you had without you, you're in the right place. Because we also believe and have substantial evidence to support this idea that banks are always manipulating and rigging markets, that power perpetuates power for power's sake. They need more and more and more and more. And there are plenty of people coming to the markets every day now through the prop firm programs like Apex and Earn to Trade and Top Step Trader and the like, as well as new traders in the cryptocurrency space, especially. We'll take a look at that. And we're the only company really talking about time right now. And so one of the ways, let me see if I can find this. One of the ways that we kind of prove that this works is by publishing the times and directions that we're expecting markets to move in the future. And we sort of give people that information days in advance. That's really the only way to prove that what you say is happening if you're a prognosticator, right? And so, can you guys see on my chart right here? This was published yesterday, I believe. You see that signal that says 3:30 Eastern right here? this chart was published in the past, and I was looking for a short at 3:30 here this afternoon. Moreover, do you see the signal here that says 120? And there's a signal on my chart 24 hours later that says 120, and it's a sell signal. And then that one signal at 12 o'clock. All of these times were populated on this chart in the past. Meaning before today existed, this chart was available and added 21 hours ago. Now I want you to just sit in that space for a second, because most vendors, right, are sort of acting like circus clowns. And so if you go to most of these websites for all of these trading companies, you've got this vibrant guru who has this incredible personality and this very charismatic, almost evangelical following of people. But it's a circus. The screens are cluttered and there's 1,000 things on the chart, and there are free ebooks and downloads and courses and lions and tigers and bears. And all of these companies are perpetuating this idea that you have to sit and watch every single bar. You have to watch our ICT method. Here's what this is a fair value gap. Did you know there was a fair value gap? Oh, how did we live before fair value gaps? Who knew? It was right there in front of our faces for 100 years, and we didn't even know it was a fair value gap. There's always this regurgitation of stuff that people have been looking at for years, decades, and no one mentions time. So we step into the conversation and say, hey, this is what we were expecting to see in gold futures, and we tell you the day before. And then when we come back 2 days later, look at what happened to gold futures. And we sort of challenge people and say, hey, a lot of the times you could get in the money right away. And if you bought at the times you were expecting it to go up and you got out at the times you were expecting it to go down, that's a $550 move. If you bought at the time you were expecting it to go up here at the inflation report and got out, that's a $750 move. Okay? So time is an important element when we're looking at markets. And if you'll indulge me just 1 second, I'm going to open up a daily chart for the most popular market in the universe right now. And that's Bitcoin. I don't care if you trade it or not, but I want to make a point. And the point is, the way our software works, every chart now has 3 spaces. Right now, most people are looking at what happened right here and recently. Our program is saying, you are here right now. This is right now on your chart. Like the popular Sammy Hagar-led Van Halen song, Right Now. You are here. If this was a karaoke song, this is the word you're singing right now. And everything to the right of that are the words of the song you're going to be singing in the future. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. I don't know the words, but I know the notes. No one in between. I got hairy arms. That's not it. These are the selling and buying times in the future. Now, what calculates that? An indicator that has over 12,000 lines of code for Ninjatrader. An indicator that has over 12,000 lines of code for Ninjatrader. Now, there is also some good news. If you come here today and you say, Michael, I trade on TradingView. There is a lighter version of the software on TradingView called Chronos, the Greek god of time. And you're going to have opportunities to get either one of these at the end of the video here today. So Don't despair. There are two choices now. But here's where I digress. Why do we care about February 2nd? Why do we care about February 17th and February 26th, March 3rd and March 11th? We care because of what happened on October 1st, November 4th, November 15th, December 11th, and December 31st. When there were no price bars here, when this chart was completely blank, and we arrived at October 1st and wondered what will happen next, the price of Bitcoin rose from $60,600, $8,000. That's more than 10% return in how many days? Do the math. Then when we arrived, the program said, hey, there's going to be some selling now from October 24th until October 4th. Just like over here, it's telling us there's going to be some selling between February 17th and February 26th. And so if we take our profits and we turn to our wife and say, what do you think of that, Barbara? Tell your mother who's a loser now. And then you go over and you open your Coinbase account, and when it's at 67,766, you buy it again. Well, how long do I hold it? The next signal was out there to the right, November 12th. And then on the November 12th day, when it opens up, it goes $20,000 up from 68,000. That's nearly 30% return. Woohoo! And then the 15th opens up and you have to get out by when? The 29th. That's a $9,000 gain. Up here, you come in and you finish where you start by the 19th. Womp womp. Over here, you get in and you finish with about $3,900 where you start. And now you'll notice we have this progressively declining trend line right here. So the timing chart is bringing a new voice into this conversation, because most of the customers are looking at price action, candle patterns, volume, all the stuff on the right side of the chart. It's very easy to market this to traders because it's very visual. It's right now. Your brain is wired with something called the recency effect. What is the recency effect? A cognitive bias in which those items, ideas, or arguments that came last are remembered more clearly than those that came first. Well, what does that mean? It means your brain is incapable of remembering the cycles that are driving this market. It could care less about February 2nd. It's really interested in this candle. Wow, that's an evening star pattern. And there's a large bullish candle and then a small doji. And the whole time the banks are getting ready for this. But your brain has a bias, a cognitive bias, to pay the most attention to what is right in front of us. My father used to call it tunnel vision. He said, you have tunnel vision. You only see what's right in front of your face. And that's why, in my opinion, 90% of people lose on average. And so on the daily charts, we can go out and look at different markets like gold and ask those questions and say, hey, what the heck is going on? Same thing in gold. Gold looks resoundingly similar to Bitcoin, doesn't it? We kind of had some lower highs here for a while. Look. And today, we're closing above that trend line. When are we closing above that trend line? Well, right here it's saying, hey, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, fill in the blank. They're looking probably to push up on the 20th of January. There are 12,000 little lines of code and database management. I'm going to put 12,000 employees. How about that? Let's think of it that way. Drew, let me fill that in. 12,000 code employees warning you. Right here. Hey, we did the research. We did the research, and I don't know if you realize this, but there's a repeating cycle in this market that's getting ready to germinate. And so right now, if I'm looking at this chart, I'm anticipating how are they going to get this move started? They've already closed above the trend line. Maybe they push up here. Maybe they come back down and touch it tomorrow, 27, 24, 3, and then go up until the 17th of February. Well, why do we believe this? Chris, why do we care? Why are we interested? Because when we were waiting on August 14th, when we were waiting on September 13th, waiting on October 15th and November 20th and January 2nd, look at what happened after the fact. There's something undeniable. These settings never change. In 15 years, I've never altered the settings. If you're a customer here, you know, and you know. And so now we're having a conversation with a market that is rigged. That's rigged. Sell, sell. There's another sell out here. Where's the buy? The buy is here. There's a schedule. Right? It's like a mob movie where Tony Soprano says, listen, we're going to hit this truck, we're going to hit this truck, and we're going to hit this truck on this route tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We're going to break into this airplane at the airport, and you know that this is going on. Here, let's ask ChatGPT. Do large banks ever get caught or fined for manipulating markets? Oh, absolutely. Here we go. I don't have to look very far. Who are the big banks? Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, Citigroup. Chase just got fined or caught defrauding its customers $2 billion. They put people's money in lower interest rate yielding accounts on purpose. People thought they were getting one interest rate, and Chase was like, no, you're getting scraps. And then they gave all those profits to the investors. So we know large banks are manipulating markets, and this graph is proof of it. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions about this so far? No? Okay. Let me show you something we were working on earlier that's unrelated to the software, but emphasizes an important point about the predictivity of the markets. Earlier in our social media campaign and all the groups that I'm a member of that allow me to post into them for trading, we had a realization earlier in the week. How many of you guys remember what the realization was? We had a post. Who is that guy? There it is. So earlier in the week, I had a post about lunar cycles. Now, this is going to sound weird. Give me a little bit of rope here, if you wouldn't mind. One of the guys that I mentioned earlier was a guy named William Delbert Gann. Gann was interviewed by Richard Wyckoff. Wyckoff, if you know him, he's sort of the father of volume spread analysis and volume analysis. Back in 1909, they sit him down and they say, Gann, we got a couple questions for you. And here's what I want you to see. It appears Gann has developed an entirely new idea as to the principles governing market movements. And then Brandon, look, he bases his trades upon certain natural laws which existed since the world began. And the more we read about Gann, the more we start to cycle down into his brain. The base word of natural laws is nature. And Gann says, yeah, there's some manipulation to this, but it's also based on natural principles. Gann goes on to say later in his works that everything in nature is subject to cycles that are based on time. So here's time going forward, and at one point you're in a buying cycle, and at one point you're in a selling cycle, which is why you see on my charts, it goes from blue to white to blue to white, selling to buy, selling to buy. Well, Gann went a little bit off script sometimes, and he started talking about things like the sun and the moon. Now, again, you promised me a little bit of rope. When I come back on this chart, one of the things I've been telling everybody here for the last few weeks, and let's go ahead and increase the font so those of us with older eyes can actually see what's happening. I mentioned that in cycles, sometimes the cycles flip. And so on the moon signals, everywhere there was a red signal, I was putting a green arrow underneath it. And everywhere there was a green signal, I was treating it like a sell. How many of you have been following along with that on social media or in my training group? A few of you, right? And then Brandon, look, I took the moon signals off and I was left with this. And in that post, I started to notice, hey, we were at a full moon here. And we were at a full moon, very similar cycle over in November. And then I started to notice this. We had a high with a third quarter phase, a moon half empty. Over here, we had a high with a third quarter phase. Let's put the number 3 over that, right? And this is a little weird, but I have a point that I want to make. Again, stay with me just a little bit longer. Let's put a number 3 over there for the third quarter phase. And I noticed that there was a trend line right here. In fact, you can go back to the Facebook page and you can look at it and see for yourself. And I postulated in front of everybody, which is always a disaster because no one believes anything I say. I postulated that what happened in mid-November at this trend line, at this full moon, which had huge stop running bear days, that had huge, 2 big stop running bear days. Do you guys see them? I'll circle them for you. 1 panic day, 2 panic days. 1 panic day, 2 panic days. And Brandon, where do we end up? On the trend line. On the trend line. At a full moon. And so the real signal right here is a full moon. And I told everyone on the page, I said, hey, I think we're going up from here. And if you don't believe me, you can go back again and you can read the post. It was a very detailed analysis. And I was super excited about it. And I thought, surely this will be the post that everybody comments on and sends me signals. And Brandon, there's my analysis. And I tell people where it's going. And remember, at that point in time, none of these bars existed the last 3 days. There's nothing here, Brandon. This bar isn't here, this bar isn't here, this bar isn't here. And I tell people, hey, it's time to go up. Well, how far are we likely to go up? I can measure now from the bottom of the full moon to the high of the next first quarter, which is a moon half empty, or from the high of the full moon candle to the next opposite signal. And now I can start to get a feel for how high this thing is going to go by the next signal up here, which I know is a third quarter phase, right? I can start to measure the exertion. How far is this thing going to go? Probably about to 60-50. But all of this is based on a ridiculous thing that is predictable. It is based on time theory. Lunar cycles 2025. Watch. Brandon, I have all the signals for the rest of the year. New full moon, February 12th, March 14th, April 12th, May 12th, June 11th, June 10th, July 10th, and so on. Does that make sense? And so now all I can tell you is with the tech that I've developed and the theories that I've fleshed out, we have a pretty good idea where the highs and lows on this market are going to be, because when the signals aren't backwards, man, they're pretty much spot on when everything is normal. Brandon, that's a normal cycle. And if I come and I look everywhere, there's a third quarter moon half empty phase, what does it tend to do? A lot of the times, it tends to stop or just burst right through. And about half the times, that signal occurs near a consolidation area. See it? And pushes away. What happens at the full moons? Oh my gosh. The full moons drive it up until they don't. That's a failure. That's a drive up. That's a drive up. And that's a drive up. Then you have the first quarter phases, moon half full. That's a drive up. And they appear again near bottoms. That's a drive up. That's a drive up. And that's a drive up. That one didn't work. That was a drive up. That was a drive up. So this is based entirely on natural law. Right? Let's look at another predictable, unpredictable market. We'll look at oil futures together. We had natural gas storage today. We had oil yesterday. And I'll put a 3-minute chart for oil. Now, Brandon, what do I publish in advance? That's right. I publish the trading times for oil yesterday. There it is, CL 3-minute. When was this picture published? 21 hours ago. So this was published 21 hours ago. That means roughly 5 o'clock yesterday. Now look, it's kind of like the full moons and the new moons, isn't it? What's going on here? Well, here's Wednesday first. Let's look at Wednesday and Thursday in concert together. And then I'll tell you how I would trade these signals. I'm looking to see what percentage of the time did the signal appear near a high or a low, right? What percentage of the time did the high hold and it dropped down, right? Where did the bottoms occur and it shot up? About half the time. About half the time we kind of knew where the bottoms and the tops were going to be, right? So now here comes the London session and we can apply rules to this. Again, I know the times for oil tomorrow, right now. Look, there it is, 7 a.m., 7:39, 8:51, 9:12, 9:36, 10:54, 11 o'clock, 12:12. And who gave me those times? 12,000 Oompa Loompa code pieces. They're working for me in my Willy Wonka time factory and the indicator. Okay. So now let's look at Wednesday and Thursday together. Here's the difference between a signal and a setup. When I put this on my chart for the last 15 years, I have a moving average. Here's how simple it gets. When the moving average is down, it's blue. When the moving average is up, it's white. Michael, why don't you use red and green like normal human beings? I've learned to avoid psychological triggers that can be logic preventative. For example, what does the color red mean in society? What have you been taught since a tiny little kid what red means? Anybody, give me 2 or 3 answers here real quick while I take a sip. What does the color red imply? Bad, or what else? Danger, what else? Stop. Stop. Don't do anything. What does the color green imply? It's all good. Go. You've had that taught to you 10,000 times in your life. And people, I've noticed, have a really hard time shorting when the candles are red. I love falling candles. Mine are blue. You know what color blue has an implication? What the color blue has an implication for? Nothing. I can't think of anything. There's nothing, because there's nothing attached to it. Same thing for white. Snow White, dwarves, Dopey, love Dopey. White is up, blue is down. I also don't have a minder with this. And thousands of orders flickering around, because it makes your brain operate like you're on cocaine. It's insanity. Green is money. That's true. That is true. So here's what I'm doing. We'll just use the US session. The software now starts to add these dots and lines. The dots and lines help me understand where my stops are. So at 9:18, I have the indicator set to put a dotted white line until I get to 10:06. 1.5 ATR values away. If I scroll into the indicator, you'll see, put my stop 1.5 ATR multiples away. This is an elastic stop. If the market is more volatile and an average sized oil bar is 10 ticks, your stop is 15 ticks away from the low of the candle. If the market is extremely volatile and a 5-minute or a 3-minute candle rather is 20 ticks every 5 minutes up and down, your stop's going to be how much? 50% of 20 is 10, plus 20 is 30. It'll be 30 ticks from the low or high of the candle. So now here's where things get really cool. That's a pretty standard thing, a dynamic stop. At 9:18, I enter on the close of the candle. But I know historically how much rocket fuel is in this thing. How high can Jeff Bezos get his satellites into space? I didn't watch the New Glenn launch. Did it go off successfully? Jeff Bezos has a great ability to copy what everybody else is doing once they've done the hard stuff. I think he is the bane of Elon Musk's existence, which is funny to me. And right now there are 4,000 Starlink satellites hurtling around Earth, and I'm fairly certain there'll be 40,000 Amazon satellites this time next year. I kind of like Bezos because he gets on Elon's nerves, but that's another story. 10:06 comes, and those 12,000 little helpers say, hey, this is when the selling usually starts. You might want to get out of here. So if you're a baseball fan and you like Boston and you live in New York, and the bartender leans over and he says, Brandon, there's some guys coming in here. They play cards every week at this time. and they're huge Yankees fans. You might want to be gone before the Yankees fans get here. No, thank you. Otherwise, it's going to get weird. 10:06 comes, there's nothing to do. 10:33, the candle closes. Oh, there's a short window now here, 12 minutes. I can buy, I can put my stop here and get out at 10:45. Remember, how old is this chart? How long have we been watching for these signals? 21 hours ago. So we knew 10:45 was going to be here. You knew 18,000 people taking this trial knew that 10:45 was coming, and it was a blue line, which meant selling. When's the next buy signal? 12:36. How long is my window? Until 1:48. How high did it eventually go? 43 ticks. But for the basic demonstrations on Thursday, we stop here. There's another window. Where's the window? From 2:03 until 2:24. Bump! Consolation prize. Okay? And then the market's closed. That's one of the setups. Is everyone able to follow that setup? Does everyone understand the genesis of that entry and how we're going to handle it? Because, let me see. No. The other entry is called a puncture. I don't have the PowerPoint for that up here, and I don't want to go searching for it. A puncture is equivalent to a failed counter trend signal with trend. What? We can call that a double negative. So if I'm looking to take a long, Luis, if I'm looking to take a long, Yang, if I'm looking to take a long, hey, Stanley, I don't want any sellers. I don't want any sellers in my way. I don't want any Yankees fans in the bar if I'm walking into the bar with a Boston jersey, right? I don't want any trouble. Well, how do I know if there are no sellers? Well, if I'm expecting them at 10:45, there's this little push down and woohoo, and it worked. But then, Stanley, what does it start to do? Oh, son of a gun. It starts to go up past my line that it should never go past. So now at each of the sell signals, I have a threshold that normally never gets blown through. I have a threshold that normally never gets blown through. And so now with a puncture, here's how we dissect the setup. Ready? Get rid of this. When that blue signal is sitting there, I will have a buy just above this line. Right here. Right here. And Stanley, I'm daring these guys to show up because if there's no one there, I'm going to take a chance. It's like walking into a bank and all the guards are gone. It's like walking into a bank to steal it. And Stanley, when I look in there, this guy who's normally there, he's gone. He's not here today. There's no guards, no guns, nobody to stop me from taking the money in that vault. And the equivalent of that is if it goes past that line, because now I'm 1.5 ATR values past that and they're still going. Well, where's my stop? As soon as it punctures, I'm going to put my stop 2 ticks underneath the candle that went that way. These are the buyers who are like, is it safe? Is it safe? Hey, are you guys still selling? I don't know. Hey, are you guys still selling? You're a little higher now. Are you still selling? You know what? The hell with it. If we go past here, I'm gonna buy this thing. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And it's a breakout trade. And so I can now use risk reward ratios if I want. How much did I have to risk? Okay, maybe I get out at 2-to-1. Maybe I get out at 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. I don't care what you do, but do it. I know for the sake of the example in the webinar, we have to be out by when? The next buy signal. And womp womp, look, it hits the stop. Let's count it. It's real. There's the stop. We count it. We lost 8 ticks. Oh, fantastic. Now, what are we watching for? We're watching for them to evacuate their post again. And they did. They evacuated their post a second time right here. We're like, you know what? If they let us go past this line, hey, sellers, can you see us? Nah, 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 nah. You can't touch us. Boom. Where's our stop go? Just underneath the candle again. How long do we hold the trade? Until the next signal. So -8 the first time, plus 30 the second time with trend. So on a hard trending day, failures of the counter trend signals are beneficial. That's why we call them punctures. There goes the white signal. Now here's 224. Watch. Where's my buy order going to be? My buy order is now sitting right here. You know what? If they let us go that high, they're not here. If they let us go that high, they want this price to go higher. And it goes up and it goes up, touches it. Where's my stop? My stop is right underneath that candle. How long do I have? I know when the next time signal is coming. I know when the next time signal is coming. So now you can either take profit when you want to take profit, or do what? Hold until the next time. But that is called a puncture. And if you're in my live training room, I'll actually come over here and I'll put PUNC just to remind everybody, PUNC, what we did, PUNC. So we have signals with trend, signals with trend, signals with trend, and punctures. Stanley asks a great question, and I want to stop and reframe the presentation in light of it because it's a really good question that I don't acknowledge as often as I should. Do you follow with your stop? How could you trail? The purpose of this level webinar is to sort of do two things. Number one, Stanley, it's to raise the awareness of the existence of predictive trading times and how banks are using those times to manipulate the markets they trade. 98% of the people that I meet at the very beginning have no idea that it exists, none whatsoever. And so the challenge for me is to show them with charts like that, hey, this signal is different from what the clowns in marketing clown school are giving you and shoving down your throat. Because what are the 3 big bugaboos? Number one, overtrading. I watch the Apex trading Facebook page every day. And the guys who fail out for one of 3 reasons. Overtrading, their stops are too large, and their targets are too small. So they are always falling towards their trailing drawdown. And when they are winning, it's very tiny gains towards their profit target. And then you get the inevitable, I had my profit target in the morning and the charts looked really good in the afternoon and I got back in. Overtrading. So what I'm trying to accomplish is to show people, hey, here's the schedule for the day. There's a statistically relevant edge here that we want to exploit. Now, number two, when we get here, I have customers that trade for 5 ticks and they're gone. Gone. 5 ticks. Out. And then some of you will get in a trade and you'll hold it. And you'll wait. You'll buy it and say, hey, I got in at 918. Let me see if it punctures 1006. No, okay. It's 1033. I bought it here. Let me see. I'll move my stop under this white line. And now your entry here, you survive 1033, and now it punctures. And you go, okay, I bought here, and now it broke through that blue line, so I'm good for another cycle. Let me get to 1236, and I'm going to move my stop from here up to here, but I bought here. And then 1348 is punctured. Now that guy is moving his stop to here. How many of you trade like that? How many of you who own the software now get in a trade and try to hold it through each of those cycles along the way? Yeah, a few of you. Earl says never. Stanley, one of the things you can do with the puncture is you can add a volume tool to it like PVT. And you can actually monitor to see what direction the volume is going at the puncture to make sure it's green when you get there and not red. If it's red when you get near that puncture line, you have to walk away because it means the selling is going away. Tim says, yeah, I ride a position forever. Yeah, so one of the things you could do if you wanted to try it for a month is use a volume tool to tell you where are the buyers and sellers. Now the question Francis asked is, hey, do you have an idea when you could have potential puncture days or big up days or big down days? Sure. So I'm partial to, when you look at higher time frames, the ones, I'll usually look at a 1, a 5, or a 60. And so if I look at a 60-minute chart, Francis, I'm trying to understand what the market has for me, right? So here's how I interpret higher time frames. Good question. On a 60-minute chart, I want to see what people are doing versus what they said they would do. So right here from 6 a.m., watching for buying. And then up here at 6 p.m. Eastern, watching for selling. So Francis, everything's good over here and everything's good over here, right? It makes sense. And then right here, watch. I'm watching for selling, and then what immediately happens, like 6 bars later, it punctures that line. So on the 60-minute chart, it tells me that the banks that are trading at the higher time frame, all bets are off. We broke through that double top right here, and at a time we were supposed to be going down, Francis, it's going up. How long am I waiting for that if I'm watching on a 3-minute chart? Until midnight. And so now, Francis, here, I'm watching for the winds to come out of the north, and they come out of the south instead. And so the second it violates that puncture line like that, now on the lower time frame, I'm watching for selling. You want to see a cool way for that to be automated? Watch this. There's an indicator in Warp called the predictive trend. And what I can do is get rid of the moving average. There's so much that Warp has to offer. And now, Francis, watch. If I come down and I activate the predictive trend, show trend change right there. Trend identifier, show trend change. You see how those lines came up on the 60? It's watching for me automatically for that to happen. It's watching for me automatically for that to happen. Does that make sense? So now I could very easily open a CL chart, look at a 1 minute CL chart, and now over here, look at basically the wind vane and tell me what direction I should be looking for moves. Does that make sense? So before the market opened here at 7 a.m., I was looking for sells. So looking for punctures of that white line, looking for punctures of that white line, looking for punctures of this white line at 11:03. And so as the market is falling now, this tells me I should, higher time frame says I should be looking for shorts. I sell it here all the way to 11:29. I sell it at 11:29 all the way to 11:33 because it's time. I sell it from 11:52 until 11:03. And so if you are a high time frame junkie, some of you think that way. I can't. It's very hard for me to think that way. There's a very easy way to set that up in the software to tell you very clearly the higher time frame trend based on timing, not a moving average, nothing lagging. The higher time frame is down. Does that make sense, Francis? There are some people who just use that exclusively. They'll use it as an entry signal. So here, let me show you another way to use the predictive trend. Ready? So let's come in here and under indicators, Francis, check this out. We'll get rid of the dot price line. We don't need to see that. We'll look at the dots themselves. We'll get rid of the timestamp. We don't need to see that. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, perfect. Let's look at the moving average now. So we'll come here and put a moving average on here. Let's put a 50 period moving average. Okay. And let's change our candle color. Bring it back. We'll bring it back to the crazy colors for some of you can see this more clearly. Okay, so Francis, now when the predictive trend is up, you can put a micro CL contract right here, put your stop under this line, and now hold it until here. Swing traders will like this. This is based on timing. We punctured the red dot here, and now I'm long until right there. Okay, now I'm below the moving average, and then the signal changes. I give 37 cents of it back. Now I'm long until the next signal. I give 34 cents of that back. And then Francis, right here is a long entry too. When we close above the stop line of the trend identifier. So now that signal takes me long to here, $4.33. So I can use the predictive trend right now to identify possible entries. That isn't based at all on any of the time signals traditionally. So there's some advanced stuff you can do for sure. One of the things that I like to look at in terms of higher time frame is the E-mini S&P. No, TradingView, I'll tell you about that here in a minute. If you understand the concepts, and a lot of this stuff is relatively simple to understand, we ran into some issues with TradingView, and I'll tell you about them. Yeah, let's do that. And on the E-mini S&P daily chart, my settings are different. And I've told you guys what those are. Wednesday, 1:15 is the next sell signal until the 23rd of January. One of the things that I'm cautious about, though, remember how I showed you those full moon signals were all backward skies? You can recognize it once you start to see it. Drew, check this out. Down on the 25th, up on the 2nd, down on the 6th, up on the 15th. So even on the time warp side, those natural laws creep in. Even human behaviors are subject to this law that Gann talked about 120 something years ago. So I do have a bullish bias right now. The signals are backwards. Let's talk a little bit about the TradingView version. I think that's important. Ninjatrader is an extremely powerful engine. They let us do some pretty cool stuff, right? And so on the TradingView version, there's this issue where, here, let's load a gold chart. They give you a certain number of lines of code to program. I want you to think about this. Let me create a new one over here. Hold on. Bear with me. I want you to know this so you don't feel like we did it. That way. Okay. So in NinjaTrader, the programming staff basically says, look, you have all this space to write code, and it's relatively unlimited. Let's just say unlimited. And for us right now, that's about 12,000 lines. Well, fun fact about TradingView. TradingView says in relation to that, you can write a program that's this long. You get this many lines of code. And they actually give us, Francis, a number of characters. And then that's your limit. You ever go to fill in a form and it says you have 2,000 characters to complain about the service of the company you're writing about? And if you write one more character, it all turns red and says, no, it won't let you write anymore. We are, at present, we are within 2 characters of the limit with Chronos. Within 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So what that allows us to bring over, let me bring it back, is the most important parts. So it's like warp light. Let's call it warp light. And so what that gives us, Francis, are the times and the dotted lines and the future signals coming up. That is 90% of what warp was intended to do. So I still have the dotted lines for punctures. I still have the dotted lines for stops, and I can still see the times coming up in the future, right? I can still change the time frames. I can still do the things. I can still see all of that stuff. So if my 15-minute chart was my higher time frame, Francis, am I looking for buyers anymore? Nope. I'm below the stop line and on the 15-minute chart in gold because I fell through the line right here. On the 1-minute chart or the 5-minute chart, I would be looking for it. So the principles are the same. The most important information was coded within 2 characters of the limit. So whether that's Bitcoin now on a 15-minute chart, or if we look at SPY, we can load that stuff on there and see where those collapses are sort of taking place. Come down here to the 5-minute chart for a spider and see those same things, giving us a heads up as to where those turns are. Does that make sense what I just said? Yeah, right. Yeah. So also inside of there are some things that you can change. So if you go into your, I think it's this settings, that's settings. One of the things I can control is the swing strength. So if I want to see fewer signals, I can change that from an 11 to a 20. I can make it look for larger signals historically. If I want to see more signals, I can change it from an 11 to an 8. That's our volume knob on how many signals we want to see in a row. Do I want shorter duration signals or do I want longer duration signals? I can activate the dot lines. I can activate the closing price lines. If I want my stop to be further away, I can make that 2, right? I can change all those things, and now my stops are a little farther out if I like to let the trade breathe, so to speak, right? And so Chronos gives me that ability now to still see the times coming up in the future, but I can control how many of them I want to see. Do I want to see little bitty scalping moves or do I want to see large swing moves? But the most important thing to remember is that you can see the times coming up in the future in a platform that was in no way, shape, or form designed to do this. There is no help. There is no one you can call and say, hey, how come this programming feature doesn't work? And how come this database thing is, there is no one to help you. And so we had to basically redesign the entire platform from scratch to do that, right? So there is a difference between Chronos and Warp, and there's a little more functionality here. There's more things we can do because we have unlimited resources, programmatically speaking. But if you're using TradingView and you don't have the ability to go back to NinjaTrader, you're still going to see these times. But you're not going to have the additional functionality. Basically, programmatically, you stop right here. And then all this other stuff is stuff that Ninja lets us do that TradingView doesn't let us do. Does that make sense? Yeah, there's a lot there. So we kind of started out with this question of, does it work? Right? Can we email customers the times in advance? Can we come back on Thursday and validate, verify whether or not it worked? And if we do, kind of give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And that's what we do on Thursdays. I've done it every day, every year for 15 years. Over 15 years now we've been in business. When I do that over and over and over again, people sign up. And when they come back and they want to tell people about their experience, our average rating is a 4.7 out of 5. Right? And so you can see, if you just read, these are real people with real experiences, with real credit card receipts that are not related to me. This isn't my mom and my uncle and my cousin Bill. These are people who sat in the webinar right where you're sitting right now. And they all say the same thing. I don't know how I lived without this. Once I started watching time, it changed my life. This is how the game is really played. And then Alberto wants us to know that you should really think about putting your energy into this, Francis. But Michael and the staff are great. We got a 1-star review, but I'm great. I'm still trying to resolve that with my therapist. We're working through it. I actually made a lot of progress with Alberto's review this week. I feel much better. So people since 2009, right? They're kind of saying the same thing over and over again. Use my software with my own trading method for many years. It's amazing to wait for the time signal and see how price will react with the exact time given days in advance. And that's what we did here today. So when we're here today, you sort of have two paths forward. And some of you use both platforms. They'll give you options for both things. Also, news event, watch for our new website coming online February 2nd. Which will also be much more mobile friendly. So we're migrating to a new website beginning of February. Keep your eyes open for that. The program that we're talking about is Warp. It's our base level program. And you need it to do anything else here. You kind of need that one to start with. And so I'm going to put that link in your GoToWebinar chat box right now. This is an indicator for Ninjatrader. Ninjatrader is free for downloading and for charting. So you can look at daily bars with this. We can also look at some of the stocks like Nvidia, Tesla, a lot of the meme coins on TradingView. Anything you have a data feed for, you can use. It's a one-time fee of $29.95, lifetime license. You're going to get a promo code here in a minute that's going to make that a little more palatable. And I wanted to show you this because this is me. I have a live room that meets Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 11. We teach some pretty crazy stuff in there. Today we focused on the support and resistance lines, the open price lines, and tons of great feedback from those of you that were in there with me this morning. Really great setups and trades. My job is to connect you with the parts of the program that you feel naturally and give you ownership in the method. And if you need your hand held, you like having the owner with you, showing you what he's thinking 2 hours a day, 6 hours a week, we have a live room available. It's $199 a month. I try to trade with a $200 daily goal. We were past that, I think, in the first 10 minutes of the market this morning. You don't want that? Don't worry about it. Go to the checkout without it. And then there's your purchase agreement. Go ahead and click that X and then let us know you agree with it. If you don't agree with it, no worries. The promo code, listen up, W, lowercase, W-A-R-P-O-F-F. W-A-R-P-O-F-F. William Alpha Radio Papa Oscar Foxtrot Foxtrot. No spaces, no capital letters, and when you hit apply, takes $500 off because you sat here and listened to me gab on and on and on about how this works. That's how it's going to work. You can do PayPal also, and sometimes if you're qualified with PayPal, you can do pay later and not have any payments until 6 months from now. So that's if you want to go the Ninjatrader route. There is another link for those of you who are TradingView-aholics. The first few people are going to get this at $195 a month. I'm going to post that link into your chat box here too. I've taken $100 off the monthly subscription, and I know TradingView people like to try before they buy. And so it will be exclusively a monthly subscription. We believe you can earn your subscription back one of the 20 days per month easily, and see the same kinds of results that you were seeing in the warp environment. So if you want that Chronos version that we were talking about here a moment ago, and have basically unlimited market ability wherever you have a data feed for, you're absolutely able to do that. Pattern 5 right here. And so everything that we know about warp, for example, Francis, there's a guidebook that's in your GoToWebinar chat box, the handout. Everything we know about the time cycles and the signals and how they all work, all this stuff is as valid for the TradingView version as it is for the warp version too. So we're sort of like in the EU. The TradingView country is like Greece, and the warp version is like the UK. We're all using the same euro currency and philosophy. So that is available to you guys. This is really the end of the webinar, I promise. And we're answering the question, what is trading? Because if trading to you is looking at what just happened or what happened the last few bars, then we can't help you. A lot of you came here today, you are not happy with your progress. You're not happy with your P&L. You're not happy with how many evaluation accounts and qualification accounts you've failed at. I saw one guy, he said he failed at 90 Apex evaluation attempts. 90. I thought, oh my God, can you imagine waking up? You're a pitcher and you've lost 90 baseball games in a row. Traders are wonderful people, though. And I imagine that guy saying, I learned 90 ways how not to pass an evaluation account. The name of the game is actually in the name of the game. If you're trading futures, it's in the future. We are the only company with the name of the game in our name. Back to the future trading. And so if you think the markets are this, I can't do anything with you. If you want to show me your WYSIWYG system and how you do this, and there's a girl on YouTube right now and she's like, oh, you just draw a trend line. And when it does this, I buy and I hold it the whole way. And I was like, the real world, it goes up and then it comes down and then it goes up again and then it comes down like that and then it closes above it again. And she never talks about that because it's a load of horse dookie. Yeah, I love that girl. 465,000 followers. 465,000 followers. But she's teaching people that, and they're sucking up her course left and right. That's not what I believe. This is what I believe. I believe the guys at JP Morgan have programmed their algorithms to strip you blind and take your money. They were already saving for their Lexus car commercial vehicles for their wives next year. Na, 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 the Lexus sales event. Are you a trading broker at JP Morgan? Is your trophy wife bored? Come on down and spend some of that $10 million bonus money with us. That's the world we live in, right? And there's an answer. I don't know how to show you with any more clarity what happens when you just wait for them to screw everybody else. You don't have to be there. Be the last Marine off the helicopter. All right, let's go. Get out there. Let's go, Johnson. You too, Smith. Davis, what's the rut? What are you doing? You got to get out there. Hang on, wait for it. All right, I'll go. Move out of the way, Sarge. I'm ready. They ran out of bullets. That's what I want you to have the experience of tomorrow. I want you to feel like you can't lose. I want you to feel like you got the fastest car on the track and the best engineers back in the booth and the biggest sponsor, and everyone is about to shout your name. Francis, Francis, Francis. Some guy with an English accent starts narrating your life when you sit down to trade. Francis Wall out in the lead today. He's up 17 ticks this early in the race. 17 ticks, 18, 19. There's no catching Francis Wall now, Bill. I think he's got this one locked in. Look at him locking in the profit. That's what I want for you. I do. I want that for you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for enduring my silly energy. This is me. This is authentically me. I married a woman who can tolerate it. She's Cuban and Italian, so she's basically the carbon rod in my nuclear reactor and can absorb all of this. I understand it's a lot for some of you. It's the end of the day. I had a caffeinated beverage and I'm a little wide awake. So don't let that be an obstacle. I am for you. And let me just tell you this before you leave. Your brain got a little bigger today. You did a little mental gyration, a little exercise. Pull away and don't do any heavy thinking for a while. Just like when you're working out, you have to stop and let it rest and let your muscles build and heal. Just kind of pull back. Don't go right into the charts and start looking to do things. Give yourself an hour or two to absorb it. Watch a funny movie, go outside, take your pet for a walk, move. Motion is important in trading. We're in these giant chairs that just go like this and we paddle around like ducks for a while. Move, go outside, check it out. But when you come back, when you trade tomorrow, when you trade Monday next week, and there's these big giant moves, if you don't have the software, I want to remind you, you could have known the times those moves were likely to happen. Oh, Francis, once you do that, yeah, I'll get you the live room link. Hold on. We don't have anything attached to that. I'm going to make sure that that's associated with that. I didn't even think of attaching that to the TradingView orders. Sorry about that. We need to put a pop-up there too. Here you go. Now we're thinking. Sorry about that. Here it is. Yep. Brandon, thank you. We've been doing this for, like I said, close to 20 years. I'm probably one of a handful of people on Earth, if not one or two, that knows as much about time cycles as there is to know. I've been staring at the same blade of grass for a really long time. And if you want to tap into that, I share everything I know. There are no secrets. There's no third monitor where all the magic happens. I tell everyone everything. I want you to succeed. I am for you all. I am proud of you all. I want to be a Mr. Rogers to the trading community. I believe in you. I know you can do it. There's so much money to take back. There are so many funded trading accounts you can qualify for if you play by the rules. And what they told you, those aren't the rules. Double tops and double bottoms and morning star patterns and 3 black crows and volume spikes and all those things. The banks now make markets appear like there are orders where there are no orders. They spoof dark pools, high frequency algos. You never had a chance. The only chance you have is to be a robber baron with them. Trade when they trade, shoot when they shoot, fire when they fire, duck when they duck, and stay inside when they don't go outside. That's it. That's all we do here. And if you believe that and you trade like that, you believe that these markets are manipulated, and they know before tomorrow even opens, they already know the direction, they know how far they want to push, they've programmed all the numbers in, and now they're sitting back in a mahogany desk. Let's go play some pickleball with Susan. Susan, you up for a round of pickleball? If you believe that, like we believe it, then you're going to do fine. But if you're still hacking away and saying, no, 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 it's trend lines, it's this and it's that and it's the other thing, you're going to keep having the same results you've always had. And I don't want you to do that. It's not, most of you will lose this amount of money by next week in the losing trades you take, and tell me the entire time the software was too much money. Happens every week. Some of you will self-sabotage right before you hit the buy button. You'll go in and place 100 calls on a stock that's falling like a rock. You will self-sabotage. You're this close to the thing you prayed to Jesus and the Kwanzaa tree for, and you are going to blow it up because you can't help yourself. Don't do that. Give it a shot. Give it a shot. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your handsome and beautiful faces. May the valleys rise up to meet us all. The mountains of adversity lay low before us. I wish you peace this year, prosperity, health, fellowship with people in our lives who care for us and care about us. I wish for you community, purpose, and meaning. And it's my most sincere wish that you find that either with us or with somebody else. I hope you plug into something that you have ownership in, a system that you feel comfortable with, that you can trade and feel comfortable using profitably every day. Go out, be light in the world, be funny, be hopeful, be optimistic. We need an army of people to fight against the darkness moving forward in this crazy, strange new world. Everybody have a great night. We'll see those of you in my live room on Tuesday. Keep your eyes open for some training guides for the new Chronos material. We're working on that. We're going to create a new Skype group for the users to interact with each other, as well as invite you back to the community group. That was one other selling point I forgot to tell you. We do have a training group of people that are meeting in our Skype group. There's 342 people in there right now. They're sharing their charts, they're sharing their results and templates with each other. They're sharing their trade setups. I'm in there posting my results and the things that I look for, and people are in here talking about where they're getting in and out in real time. So we do have a live community. It's not a Discord. I'm too old to know what that even means, but I do have a place for customers to meet. And if you're not a part of that, please contact Rachel or me and we'll get you an invitation to that once you have the software. Take care, guys, ladies. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Thursday if you want to hang out again. Otherwise, let's go make some money. The opportunities are there. If you don't want it, I got nothing for you. Bye-bye.